The day the aliens arrived was sunny and mild in Washington, D.C. Their ship, a gleaming oval of metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways, hovered over the National Mall. News stations around the world broadcast nothing. Else, military jets circled at a respectful distance. The president waited on a hastily assembled platform with advisors and security personnel nearby. When the aliens finally emerged, they weren't what most people expected. The Xylorians stood nearly 8 feet tall with translucent skin that revealed crystalline structures beneath. They moved with fluid grace despite their size. Their voices, when they spoke through their translation devices, sounded like wind. Chimes. We represent the Meridian Alliance, a coalition of 17 spacefaring civilizations, the lead alien said. We come in peace to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. The first meetings went smoothly. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in peaceful relations. They spoke of trade, cultural exchange, and eventually, perhaps, Earth joining their alliance, but they made no effort to hide their assessment of human technology. Your propulsion systems are quite quaint, said Curval, the Xylorian science officer, during a tour of NASA's facilities. We achieved similar results approximately 8,000 years ago. Frank Miller stood at the back of the room, listening. He wasn't supposed to be there. As a mid-level electrical engineer from Pittsburgh who happened to be visiting NASA for a conference, he had no official role in the alien delegation's tour. But he had a talent for blending into the background, and security was stretched thin with the alien visit. What caught Frank's attention wasn't the alien's dismissive tone, but the small device at Curval's wrist. It glowed faintly and seemed to be translating in real time without any noticeable delay. Earth's best translation software still struggled with complex dialect variations, yet this device handled nuance effortlessly. Excuse me, Frank said, stepping forward before he could stop himself. That translation device, how does it process language so quickly? The NASA director looked alarmed at the unauthorized question, but Corval seemed amused. It uses quantum entanglement principles to access a central database of all known languages, the alien explained. The processing occurs faster than your neural systems can perceive. Frank nodded, asking several more technical questions that made the NASA director increasingly uncomfortable. The alien answered each one, clearly enjoying the chance to demonstrate superior knowledge. What Curval didn't notice was that Frank was recording the conversation on his phone, or that his questions were systematically probing the device's operating principles. Across the country in San Diego, Olivia Reyes watched the alien's public broadcast from her quantum computing lab at the university. The Xylorians had set up a demonstration of their FTL communication system, showing how they could instantly contact their homeworld over 50 light years away. The principles are quite simple, the Xylorian engineer explained to the camera, though I doubt your current understanding of quantum mechanics would allow you to grasp the finer details. Olivia laughed out loud. She had 3 PhDs and had written pioneering papers on quantum entanglement. Try me, she muttered to her screen. The next day, Olivia managed to get herself invited to a technical exchange meeting. She asked question after question about their FTL system, each one building on the previous. The aliens answered, at first condescendingly, then with increasing respect as they realized her questions showed deeper understanding than they expected. Over the next few weeks, these scenes repeated across the globe. Human engineers, scientists, and tinkerers asked questions, observed demonstrations, and collected data. The Xylorians, confident in their technological superiority, shared more than their military advisors would have liked. Commander Vexinar, the Alliance's military attaché, met with his superior, Admiral Thrix, aboard their orbiting ship. These humans pose no threat, Vexinar reported. Their most advanced weapon systems are centuries behind our defensive capabilities. Their warriors, while numerous, lack the genetic enhancements of even our basic soldiers. Admiral Thrix, with scales that had faded from bright blue to pale gray with age, looked at the holographic display of Earth rotating slowly before them. "And yet," the Admiral said, "I am concerned." "About what?" Vexenar asked. "They're nuclear." "Weapons? Our shields can easily—" "Not about their weapons," Thrix interrupted. "About their engineers." Vexenar made a dismissive gesture. "Their technology is primitive." "Yes, but have you noticed how they look at our technology? There is a hunger there, a curiosity I haven't seen in millennia." Thrix zoomed the hologram to show various human cities. "Most species we encounter either worship our technology as magic or dismiss it as impossible to understand. These humans ... they take notes." Meanwhile, in a secured laboratory beneath MIT, Dr. Sam Martinez led a team analyzing the data collected from various Xylorian devices. The lab had been established within days of first contact, funded by a coalition of governments and private companies. "The quantum entanglement principles they're using aren't that different from our theoretical models," Sam said, pointing to a series of equations on a whiteboard. "They've just solved the decoherence problem in a way we hadn't considered." His team worked day and night. They built prototypes, failed, rebuilt, and failed again. But each failure taught them something new. 3 months after first contact, they successfully created a rudimentary version of the Xylorian's quantum communicator. It could only transmit simple data packets and worked over a distance of just a few miles, but it worked. "The efficiency is terrible," Sam admitted to the government officials who had come to observe their progress. "But we've identified at least 3 areas where their design could be improved." "Improved?" one official asked. "You mean you can make it work better than theirs?" "Theoretically, yes," Sam replied. "Their approach solves the problem, but it's inelegant. There's a lot of wasted energy in the system." By the 6-month mark, Sam's team had created a new version of the quantum communicator that was 34% more efficient than the Xylorian original. It used less power and could transmit more complex data packets. When the Xylorians learned of this achievement, their reaction was mixed. The scientists were intrigued, asking for demonstrations and explanations. The military representatives were alarmed. A secure transmission was sent from Earth orbit to the Galactic Council headquarters. It contained a detailed report on human engineering capabilities and a warning. These humans do not simply copy technology. They improve it. They approach problems from unexpected angles. Most concerning of all, they collaborate efficiently, building on each other's work without the competition that slows progress in many other species. Recommend immediate reevaluation of humanity's threat classification. The Galactic Council took notice. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and the galaxy was beginning to worry. The USS Defiant drifted through the darkness of space, its engines humming softly. Earth's first deep space vessel was a marvel of human and alien technology combined. Though considered primitive by galactic standards, the humans who designed and built it were proud of their achievement. The ship was never meant for combat. Its mission was exploration and scientific discovery. Captain Lavra Watson stood on the bridge, her blue uniform crisp, despite being on duty for 16 hours straight. At 42, she had gray streaks in her brown hair and lines around her, eyes from years of squinting at screens. Before the Xylorians arrived, she had commanded nuclear submarines. Now she commanded humanity's most advanced spaceship. "Captain, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature," said Officer Paul Green from the sensor station. 3 ships just appeared at the edge of our scanning range. Lavra frowned. They were in what the Meridian Alliance called neutral space, but that didn't mean it was safe. "Can you identify them?" she asked. Paul shook his head. They're not broadcasting any identification codes. The ships approached rapidly, their designs unlike the elegant curves of Silurian vessels. These were angular, with sharp protrusions that resembled claws or teeth. Open a communication channel, Lavra ordered. The main screen flickered to life. The face that appeared made several crew members gasp. The alien had scales like a reptile, with yellow eyes and rows of sharp teeth. A scar ran from its eye ridge to its jaw. Human vessel, the alien hissed. I am Captain Zursk of the Varkonian clan. Your ship and crew are now our property. Disable your engines and prepare to be boarded. Lavra kept her expression neutral. The Xylorians had warned them about Varkonian pirates, reptilian mercenaries, known throughout the galaxy for their brutality. This is Captain Lavra Watson of the Earth vessel Defiant. We are on a peaceful exploration mission. We have no cargo of value. The Varkonian laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Your ship's technology is valuable enough. And human. Specimens fetch a good price in certain markets. The screen went dark. Lavra turned to her communications officer. Send a distress signal to Earth and any Meridian Alliance vessels in range. They're jamming our communications, the officer replied, fingers flying over his console. Chief Engineer Alan Parker had been watching from the back of the bridge. He was a stocky man with calloused hands and a mind that never stopped working. While others saw problems, he saw puzzles waiting to be solved. Captain, he said, stepping forward. The Varkonians have us outgunned, but they're not as smart as they think they are. Their jamming technology has a weakness. I noticed it when we reviewed the Xylorian security briefings. What kind of weakness? Lavra asked. Their neural systems are more sensitive to certain frequencies than human brains, Alan explained. If we reconfigure our deflector array, we might be able to use that against them. Lavra hesitated only briefly. How long will you need? Alan checked the tactical display. The Varkonian ships were closing in, preparing to launch boarding pods. 15 minutes, maybe less. You have those 15 minutes, Lavra decided. Meanwhile, we'll stall them. While the bridge crew opened negotiations with the Varkonians, making false promises of surrender, Alan and his team of 6 engineers raced to the engine room. They worked frantically, rerouting power systems and modifying the deflector array that normally protected the ship from space debris. This goes against every safety protocol in the book, said Karen Michel, one of the engineers. She was young, fresh out of the academy, but brilliant with energy systems. Safety protocols assume we want the ship to keep working afterward, Alan replied, his hands deep in a control panel. Right now, we just need to survive. They adapted principles they'd observed in Xylorian defense systems, but with modifications. No alien engineer had considered. Humans had been studying the effects of various frequencies on the nervous system for centuries, from music to weapons. Alan's team applied that knowledge to the task at hand. With just 2 minutes to spare, they finished their modifications. Alan contacted the bridge. We're ready, Captain. But I should warn you, this is completely untested. It might fry our systems too. Understood, Lavra replied. On the main screen, the Varkonian captain was growing impatient with the delay tactics. Do it. Alan activated the modified deflector array. A pulse of invisible energy radiated from the Defiant. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Varkonian ships began to drift. Their ships are still operational, Paul reported from the sensor station, but they're not maneuvering. It's like they're on autopilot. Lavra opened a communication channel. This time, when the Varkonian captain appeared, he looked confused. His yellow eyes were unfocused. Who are you? Captain Zursk asked. Where am I? Alan explained what had happened as they put distance between themselves and the pirates. The pulse scrambled their neural pathways. Specifically, it affected the parts of their brains that form new memories. They're alive, but they can't remember anything that happened in the last few hours. They don't know who we are or why they're here. Will it be permanent? Lavra asked. No. Based on what we know about Varkonian physiology, they should recover in a few days. But by then, we'll be long gone. The Defiant resumed its journey. Alan's team spent the next week repairing the damage their improvised weapon had caused to the ship's systems. When they returned to Earth, they filed detailed reports about the incident. News of what happened spread across galactic communication channels within days. Most species had encountered Varkonian pirates at some point, and many had lost ships and crews to them. The fact that a human vessel, considered primitive by galactic standards, had defeated 3 Varkonian ships without firing a single conventional weapon caught everyone's attention. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. The Varkonian representative demanded sanctions against Earth for using prohibited neural weapons. The Xylorian ambassador pointed out that the humans had simply reconfigured existing technology in an innovative way, breaking no galactic laws. That's exactly what concerns me, said the representative from the Illithid Collective, a species of energy beings known for their caution. These humans didn't use advanced technology. They used basic principles in ways we never considered. The message spread across the galaxy. Humans with improvised tools were more dangerous than most species with purpose-built weapons. Warriors could be fought with other warriors. Weapons could be countered with shields. But how do you defend against an enemy who turns your own technology against you in ways you never imagined possible? From that day forward, whenever a human engineer said, "I have an idea," everyone in the galaxy learned to pay very close attention. The Europa colony gleamed like a jewel against the icy moon's surface. Dome structures connected by transparent tunnels housed 5,000 colonists, mostly scientists and their families. They lived beneath the frozen surface of Jupiter's moon, using the ice above as protection against radiation and the ocean below as a source of water and power. Diane Russell loved watching Jupiter rise through the reinforced windows of her lab. At 39, she had already earned a reputation as one of the most innovative engineers in the solar system. Her official title was lead engineer at Europa Defense Systems, but most colonists simply called her the Shield Lady. For the past 3 years, Diane had been developing a theoretical defensive measure she called an adaptive shield. The idea came to her after studying the Xylorian defense technology and finding it too rigid, too dependent on known threats. Her shield would adapt to attacks in real time, learning from each energy signature it encountered. The problem was power. The shield required more energy than the colony could currently generate. "The shield isn't ready," her assistant Kevin Jacobs said, reviewing the latest simulation results. Kevin was young, brilliant, and painfully realistic. "The power requirements are impossible with current technology. We'd need 3 times the output of all our geothermal taps combined." Diane brushed her curly red hair away from her face, leaving a smudge of grease on her forehead. "Then we'll change the technology," she replied with the confidence that both inspired and frustrated her team. Neither of them knew how soon they would need that shield. In orbit around Jupiter, a fleet of alien ships appeared out of faster-than-light travel. Their hulls were black with red markings, shaped like arrowheads pointed at the gas giant and its moons. The Krull Dominion had arrived. The Galactic Council had sent the Krull to conduct what they called a military exercise near Earth's territory. The Krull were a militant species known for overwhelming force and ruthless efficiency. They served as the Council's enforcers when diplomacy failed. The true purpose of the exercise was to test humanity's defensive capabilities. Many Council members had grown concerned about how quickly humans were advancing. The incident with the Varkonian pirates had raised alarms across the galaxy. Commander Draz of the Krull fleet received his orders with satisfaction. Target the human colony on Europa. Prepare the planet cracker for a demonstration firing. The planet cracker was the Krull's most fearsome weapon. It could fracture a moon like Europa with a single shot, killing everyone on the surface. It had never failed in combat. On Europa, alarms blared throughout the colony. The early warning. System detected the Krull ships as soon as they dropped out of FTL. Multiple hostile vessels approaching, announced the colony's AI over the speakers. All personnel to emergency stations. In her lab, Diane's screens filled with data about the approaching threat. They're charging some kind of energy weapon. She told the colony governor over the communication system. The output levels are off the charts. Can your shield stop it? The governor asked, her voice tight with fear. Diane looked at her unfinished project, then at the power readings from the colony's generators. Not as designed, she admitted. But I have an idea. While colonists rushed to shelter in the deepest levels beneath the ice, Diane and her team worked frantically. They couldn't complete the shield as originally designed, but they could adapt it. Instead of trying to block the attack completely, they would attempt to channel it. We're going to modify the colony's geothermal taps, Diane explained to her. Team, we'll use them to channel power in ways the original designers never intended. That could melt half the ice sheet above us, Kevin protested. Better than having the whole moon cracked open, Diane replied, already making calculations. They worked for 6 hours straight while the Krull ships moved into position. The colonists watched in terror as the largest alien vessel opened panels along its hull, revealing a weapon that glowed with ominous red energy. All non-essential systems shut down, Diane ordered. Divert everything to the modified shield array. The lights throughout the colony dimmed. Life support systems reduced to minimum levels. Even the heat dropped several degrees, as all available. Power flowed to Diane's improvised defense system. In space, Commander Draz gave the order. Fire the planet cracker. A beam of concentrated energy shot from the Krull ship toward Europa. It struck the moon's surface directly above the colony. The ice began to melt instantly, turning to steam that shot into Space inside her control room. Diane activated her modified shield. It wasn't really a shield anymore. It was more like a funnel or a lens. The Krull energy weapon punched through the ice, but met Diane's creation before it could reach the colony structures. Instead of trying to block the immense energy, the modified shield absorbed it, channeled it, and then, most surprisingly to the watching Krull, redirected it. The energy flowed through the colony's communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies. But it wasn't just sending a distress signal. Diane had programmed the system to analyze the weapon's energy signature as it passed through, breaking down its composition, identifying its weaknesses, and transmitting that information to every human outpost in the solar system. They're using our own attack to gather intelligence, Commander Draz realized too late. Cease fire. The beam cut off, but the damage was done. Every human military and research facility now had complete specifications of the Krull's most powerful weapon, including details that would make it possible to develop countermeasures. On Europa, there was significant damage. 3 surface domes had collapsed, though thankfully they had been evacuated. The ice sheet above the colony was half gone, exposing them to space. Emergency force fields kept the atmosphere in while repair teams worked. Diane's modified shield hadn't stopped the attack completely, but it had prevented the catastrophic mooncracking result the Krull intended. More importantly, it had turned their attack into an intelligence goldmine. Commander Draz faced the Galactic Council representatives on a secure communication channel. His normally gray skin had paled to almost white with stress. The humans should not have been able to do what they did he reported. Their technology is not advanced enough. Yet their engineers turned our attack into an intelligence-gathering operation in less than 6 hours. What do you recommend? Asked the council elder. Commander Draw's answer was immediate. We recommend no further engagement. These humans do not think like other species. They do not follow expected patterns of defense. Give them time, and they will develop countermeasures. To our best weapons, the council took his advice. The military exercise was called off. The Krull fleet withdrew from Jupiter space. 2 weeks later, Diane received a message from Earth. The Defense Ministry wanted her to lead a new project, developing offensive capabilities based on the Krull weapon specifications she had captured. She declined. I'm a shield builder, not a weapon maker, she told them. Besides, I have repairs to finish here. What she didn't tell them was that she was already working on something new. The Krull attack had given her ideas for improvements to her adaptive shield. Next time, she wouldn't just redirect an attack. She would turn it back on the attacker dot throughout the galaxy. Military strategists updated their assessment of human capabilities. The message was becoming clear. Humans didn't fight the way other species expected. They didn't win through superior firepower or numbers. They won by changing the rules of engagement entirely. The repair ship Carson floated in the darkness near Neptune, a small speck against the vastness of space. It was an ugly vessel, designed for function rather than beauty, with external tool compartments and mechanical arms extending from its hull. The Carson specialized in fixing things in the outer solar system, where few humans ventured. George Winters sat in the pilot's chair, sipping coffee from a metal thermos. At 58, he had spent most of his life fixing things. He had thick, calloused hands and deep lines around his eyes from squinting at small parts in poor light. His gray hair was thin, and he kept it cut short for convenience. George was a quantum mechanic, though he would have laughed at the fancy title. He fixed broken machines. Sometimes those machines happened to use quantum principles, but to George, they were still just machines. Incoming transmission from Neptune Station announced the ship's computer. A screen lit up showing a young officer with a worried expression. Carson, we have a situation. An alien vessel has appeared near Neptune's orbit. They're broadcasting a distress signal on all frequencies. George raised his eyebrows. Aliens this far out was unusual. Most diplomatic traffic stayed near Earth. Or Mars. What kind of aliens? They identify themselves as the Illithid Collective. Their dimensional gateway has malfunctioned, causing dangerous reality fluctuations. They're requesting assistance. George whistled. The Illithid Collective was the oldest known species in the galaxy. They were beings of pure energy who had mastered technology so advanced that most species couldn't even comprehend its basic principles. They rarely interacted with younger races like humans. Send me their coordinates, George said, already plotting a course, and tell them help is on the way. Alien vessel was unlike anything George had seen before. It appeared to be made of light rather than solid matter, with geometric patterns that shifted and changed as he watched. Surrounding it was a spherical structure, nearly a mile wide, the dimensional gateway. Parts of it flickered in and out. Of existence, causing ripples in space that made George's instruments go haywire. As the Carson approached, a voice spoke directly into George's mind. It was neither male nor female, but it conveyed clear meaning. Human vessel, maintain safe distance. Our gateway is unstable. Dangerous reality fluctuations may affect your physical form. I'm here to help, George replied out loud, knowing they could somehow hear him. I'm a repair technician. There was a pause that felt like surprise. Your assistance is appreciated, but unnecessary. Our engineers are attempting to stabilize the gateway. Please withdraw to a safe distance. George ignored the request. He scanned the gateway with his ship's sensors, analyzing the energy patterns. After 40 years of fixing everything from simple fusion reactors to experimental quantum drives, he had developed intuition about how things should work. The gateway's fluctuations followed a pattern he recognized from his work with unstable quantum states. "Your resonance matrix is destabilizing," he said as he maneuvered the Carson closer. "I can see it from here." Again, that sense of surprise touched his mind. "You can perceive the resonance matrix? This technology is beyond human understanding." George chuckled. "Maybe beyond human theoretical understanding, but not beyond seeing a broken machine that needs fixing. Your matrix is destabilizing because you're using a fixed quantum reference point. In this region of space, that won't work." "Explain," the voice demanded. "Neptune generates unusual gravitational waves that affect local spacetime," George said, checking his readings. "You need something that flexes with the conditions, not something rigid." A glowing sphere of light appeared on the Carson's bridge, an illithid in its energy form. It pulsed as it spoke into George's mind. "Our engineers have multiple doctorates in theoretical physics. They have been unable to solve this problem for 3 days. How can you perceive what they cannot?" George shrugged. "I fix things. Been doing it for 40 years. Sometimes the people who design fancy machines don't understand how they actually work in real-world conditions." The illithid observed as George used his ship's mechanical arms to collect materials from his own spare parts inventory. He combined them with materials the illithids provided, substances they considered worthless for high technology, like simple copper wire and aluminum plates. "What are you constructing?" the illithid asked. "A resonance stabilizer," George replied, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. "Nothing fancy. Just something to compensate for the local space-time conditions." The illithid engineers watched with growing astonishment as George built his device. He approached physics not from textbook theory, but from years of practical experience. He knew which materials conducted exotic energies better than others, not because he understood the quantum equations, but because he had seen what worked when things went wrong. "This defies our understanding," one illithid engineer communicated to another. "He is using primitive materials to interact with 11-dimensional energy flows." "He doesn't know it shouldn't work," replied the other. "So it does." 6 hours later, George finished his crude but effective resonance stabilizer. The illithid engineers helped him position it at a critical junction in their gateway structure. When they activated it, the reality fluctuations immediately began to diminish. "The gateway is stabilizing," announced the lead illithid. "Dimensional integrity restored to 97% and rising." George nodded with satisfaction. "It'll hold. You might want to redesign your next gateway to account for local space-time variations, though." Later, as George prepared to return to Neptune Station, the illithid leader appeared on his bridge again. "We have transmitted payment to your authorities," it said. "We have also transmitted information about your accomplishment." "No big deal," George said. "Just doing my job. You do not understand the significance. Our species has existed for millions of years. We have encountered thousands of younger races. None have ever repaired our technology using such primitive methods." George smiled. "Sometimes the simple approach works best." After he departed, the illithid collective held an emergency council meeting. They immediately adjusted their classification of humanity from primitive tool users to intuitive reality manipulators, their second highest threat category. "These humans approach problems without theoretical constraints," the council leader noted. "They see solutions where we see impossibilities." "Should we share this information with the Galactic Council?" asked another member. "Yes, all species should be aware. These humans do not think like the rest of us. Their engineers are particularly dangerous because they do not know what they cannot do. News of George's repair spread across the galaxy much faster than the humble mechanic could have imagined. His simple solution to a complex problem became a warning to advanced civilizations. Humans might lack theoretical knowledge, but their practical approach to problem-solving made them unpredictable and, therefore, dangerous. Back on Titan, George returned to his small repair facility. He filed a report about the Illithid Gateway, then went back to fixing broken machinery. He never knew that across the galaxy, advanced civilizations were changing their strategies because of him. He never knew that his name was being added to a list of humans to be watched carefully. He just knew that he had fixed something that was broken, and that was enough. The grand meeting hall on Centaurus Prime sparkled with light reflected from crystal walls. Representatives from 17 advanced civilizations gathered around a massive circular table. None of them looked happy. 5 years after first contact with Earth, the galaxy was facing what many called the human problem. Ambassador Lixil of the Meridian Alliance stood to address the gathering. Unlike most Xylorians, whose crystalline skin shimmered with blue light, Lixil's had darkened to a deep purple with age and wisdom. Fellow representatives, Lixil began, we have called this secret meeting to discuss the rapid advancement of humans and the potential threats they pose to galactic stability. General Zox of the Varkonian Empire growled his agreement. The scar on his reptilian face had faded, but not his bitterness about the defiant incident. They're warriors we can handle, Zox said. They are numerous but untested, lacking both our genetic enhancements and battle experience. He tapped his claws on the table. It's their engineers that terrify me. They don't think like us. Murmurs of agreement spread through the hall. Each species represented had their own story about human engineers solving problems in unexpected ways. Ambassador Lixil activated a holographic display showing humans modifying alien technology. Our observations confirm General Zox's assessment. Human engineers do not follow proper procedures. They combine technologies that should never be combined. They find solutions that violate centuries of established engineering principles. And yet they work, added the Illithid representative, a swirling mass of energy contained in a hovering crystal sphere, often better than the original designs. They, Crawl Commander, still ashamed of the Europa incident, spoke next. Humans apply knowledge from one field to solve problems in another. When our planet Cracker targeted their Europa colony, their lead engineer adapted communication technology to analyze our weapon while under attack. No other species would think to do this. For 3 days, the representatives debated what to do about humanity. Some suggested containment, restricting human access to advanced technology. Others proposed more aggressive measures to halt their progress. The Illithid representative floated to the center of the room. We have studied human history extensively. Attempts to contain or suppress them have historically accelerated their development. Necessity drives their innovation. The more desperate their situation, the more creative their solutions. What do you suggest, then? Asked the Crawl Commander. We have 2 options, the Illithid replied. Either form strong alliances with them, guiding their development along predictable paths, or avoid them entirely until we better understand their potential. On the final day, the Council reached their decision. Rather than attempt to contain humanity, they would issue a galaxy-wide advisory. The Grand Minister of the Galactic Council stood to read the official statement. Human engineers are to be regarded as Class A strategic assets or threats, depending on alignment. Their approach to problem-solving defies predictive analysis. Their tendency to improvise makes them more dangerous than conventional military forces. The statement continued. All civilizations are advised to either form strong alliances with human engineering cores or maintain a minimum safe distance of 50 light years from human settlements. Those who choose alliance must understand that human solutions may violate established principles and produce unexpected results. As the meeting concluded, not everyone was satisfied with the decision. General Zox approached Ambassador Lixil privately. "This advisory is not enough," Zox hissed. "These humans will eventually threaten us all." Lixil's crystalline form shimmered with amusement. "The advisory is not for the humans, General. It is for everyone else. The humans will continue to advance regardless of our warnings." "Then why issue it at all?" Zox demanded. "Because those who heed it will survive the coming changes," Lixil replied simply. On Earth, none of this was known to the public. Humans continued to develop and improve on alien technology, unaware of the fear they were causing throughout the galaxy. In a research facility in Colorado, Elizabeth Patel worked late into the night. She had been studying illithid energy manipulation techniques and had an idea for improving power generation efficiency. If her calculations were correct, her method would produce twice the energy with half the resources. On Mars Colony, John Harris tinkered with a combination of Varkonian propulsion, technology, and crawl weapon systems. He wasn't building a weapon. He was creating a mining tool that could extract rare materials from asteroids without damaging the valuable components in orbiting shipyards. Hundreds of engineers applied human ingenuity to alien concepts, creating hybrid technologies that neither humans nor aliens had imagined possible. None of these engineers thought of themselves as threats to galactic peace. They were simply doing what humans had always done, solving problems, improving designs, and finding new ways to make things work better. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the message spread. Warriors might win battles with strength and strategy, but human engineers had proven they could change the rules of the game entirely. Military vessels gave human ships wide berth. Trading partners double-checked human modifications to ensure they understood what had been done. Research institutions invited human engineers to collaborate, hoping to channel their creativity in controlled directions. The most feared words in galactic communications became, "Hold on, I think I can fix that." Whenever a human engineer said these words, aliens knew to either evacuate the area or prepare for something unprecedented. 6 months after the Council's advisory, a Xylorian diplomatic vessel visited Earth. Ambassador Lixil met with the human leadership to discuss expanded cooperation between their species. "We are impressed by your engineers," Lixil told them. "Your approach to problem-solving is unique in our experience." "We just try to find practical solutions," the human representative replied. "That is precisely what makes you valuable," Lixil said, "and dangerous." The human smiled, not fully understanding the depth of the alien's concern. "We're just getting started. Wait until you see what we're working on next." Lixil's crystalline skin paled slightly. The ambassador had seen the preliminary reports on human quantum engineering projects, gravity manipulation experiments, and dimensional research. The galaxy was not prepared for what was coming. That night, Lixil sent a private message to the Galactic Council. "As predicted, the humans view our caution as encouragement. They are accelerating their development beyond our projections. I recommend we adapt to their presence rather than resist it. Those who cannot adapt will inevitably be left behind." Throughout human territory, engineers continued their work, unaware that across the stars, entire civilizations were restructuring their societies and technologies in response to human innovation. They didn't know that tactical doctrines were being rewritten, defensive systems redesigned, and diplomatic approaches reconsidered. They simply did what engineers had always done. They solved problems. They built things, and they made improvements, and the galaxy trembled.